Marc Marquez has just looked at the biggest rule change in modern MotoGP history and told everyone they have been staring at the wrong thing. For 2 years, the sport has sold 2027 as a bike revolution. Smaller engines, less wing, no ride height trickery. A clean reset that finally drags Honda and Yamaha back to the front. Then, Marquez said the thing the factories did not want to hear. He has already predicted the new 850 machines will be similar, or even faster. And he has been just as blunt that the real change is the switch away from Michelin, the one that will force everyone to adapt. The bike is not the reset. The tyre is. And read that way, it quietly arms the one rider who has already told the world he wants to fight him. So what did Marquez see that the factories missed? And why does it point straight at Toprak Razgatlioglu? Here is why that single redirect matters. Everyone has been doing the same math. 850cc instead of 1000. Wings clipped back, ride height devices gone. The whole machine dragged towards safety. The assumption underneath all of it is simple. New bikes mean a blank page, and a blank page is where Honda and Yamaha claw back what Ducati took. Marquez just told them the blank page is somewhere else entirely. Because a bike you can develop. Engineers chase it, upgrade it, close the gap over a season. A tyre is different. A tyre rewires how a rider brakes, turns, and trusts the front. And that is where his warning turns personal. Marquez's point was not a throwaway line, because he has lived this exact moment before. When Michelin took over from Bridgestone a decade ago, he was one of the only frontrunners who adapted fast, having barely 3 seasons on the old rubber. The men who had built whole careers on Bridgestone struggled to adapt. Some of the biggest names of that era started crashing in ways they could not explain, chasing a front that no longer answered. Now he is telling everyone it is about to happen again, except bigger. Michelin has owned this paddock for 10 years. An entire generation has spent a decade wiring its braking and corner entry around one front tyre. In 2027, that tyre disappears overnight and Pirelli walks in. Every reflex built around the Michelin front becomes a liability that has to be unlearned. And unlearning at this level is far harder than learning. That is the part the factories are not pricing in. They are budgeting for new bikes, not for the fact that their best riders are about to lose the one tool they trust most. So follow the logic to the rider it lifts highest. Toprak Razgatlioglu spent years dismantling the world's superbike paddock on Pirelli tyres. It was the surface his entire style was built on, that violent brake-late rear steering attack that only works when the tyre underneath behaves a certain way. Then he arrived in MotoGP on the Prima Yamaha and spent this whole season fighting the Michelins, a front that rewarded none of his instincts. At times, he has looked like a superstar forced to write with the wrong hand. And oh, there is one more piece, and it is the piece the whole reframe turns on. Pirelli is not new to this championship. It already supplies Moto2 and Moto3, and has since 2024. Which means the tyre coming to MotoGP is the one those junior classes have run ever since that changeover. The veterans at the front have the most to unlearn. The riders coming up behind them have at least raced Pirelli on the way up, while the front runners have only ever known Michelin in the Premier class. The reset does not hit the grid evenly. It hits the champions. That is what made the closed Brno tests so loud. After the Czech Grand Prix, 5 manufacturers stayed behind for a private Pirelli session, and Toprak ran the new Yamaha V4 on the Italian rubber for the first time. Leak times put him 4th fastest. His team boss, Gino Borsoi, did not hide what he saw. Thanks to the Pirellis, Toprak has found himself closer to his riding style and to the world he knows. Borsoi told Motosprint. Augusto Fernandez, who shared that track for Yamaha, said Toprak looked far more at home on the Pirelli than he had all year. The world he knows. Feel what that admits. His own team is not selling the new bike. Borsoi was careful there, calling the 850 engine a step forward, while adding, "We will have to work on performance." They are saying the tyre gave him his identity back. The weapon he was stripped of walking into MotoGP is being handed back by a rule change. right as everyone in front of him is asked to give theirs up. None of this means Toprak simply walks in and wins. Pirelli has been quick to cool the story. Giorgio Barbier, who runs their racing program, says riders with more time on the tyre will get only a slight advantage, and doubts it will be a major one. Pirelli has even refused to shape a tyre around any single star, insisting it will not build what some call a Marquez tyre, because it is not our style. So the edge is real but bounded. A head start, not a guarantee. But a head start is exactly what a reset is supposed to erase. Now widen it out, because Toprak is the headline, not the whole story. The same reset quietly rewards a category of rider the factories are barely thinking about. The wave coming up from Moto2 has been on Pirelli since the 2024 switch. Danny Holgado, already confirmed as a 2027 rookie at Gresini, arrives with recent Pirelli seasons behind him, not a decade of Michelin. Diogo Moreira arrived from the same Pirelli-shod junior ranks. These are not riders who must adapt to the new tyre. They are riders who must adapt to everything except the tyre, an invisible edge that runs opposite to how a reset is supposed to work. So here is the belief flip, and it is sharper than the one the sport has been selling. People think 2027 is a bike revolution that rescues the manufacturers who fell behind. It is not. It is a tyre reset that resorts the grid by rider. The bikes will converge. They always do. What will not converge is the decade of Michelin muscle memory locked inside the current frontrunners. This was never really about horsepower or wings. It was about who has to relearn the sport and who does not. And that is what makes Marquez's comments so strange. He is the most successful rider on the current grid. He has more Michelin memory to unlearn than almost anyone. He had every reason to talk the tyre change down, and instead he called it the real reset. So why? Because Toprak already made it personal. Earlier this season, he said the quiet part out loud, that in 2027, my biggest challenge will be fighting with him. And Marquez's own words now read like a confirmation of those terms. He looked at a rulebook everyone else read as a factory rescue plan, and saw the moment his most dangerous rival gets his sharpest weapon back. That is not a man dismissing a threat. That is a man refusing to pretend it is not coming. The factories are still counting cc and millimetres of wing, convinced the machine is where the season turns. Marquez just told them the machine is the distraction. The real reset is under the bike, and it does not reward the biggest budget. It rewards the riders who already speak the tyre's language. Marquez spent a career mastering the tyre nobody else could tame. In 2027, it vanishes, and the man it rearms is the one who has already called him out. So did Marc Marquez just name his own successor? Let us know in the comments below. And once you do that, make sure to click on the video appearing on your screen right now.